We will end the semester by talking about social movements and social change. This chapter will give you an idea as to why you are actually doing a final that will be involving social movements. I'm going to describe collective behavior and social movements and end the semester with defining modernization. Every society changes. Social change, then, is the transformation of culture and institutions over time. The problem is when change happens very quickly, and we live in a society, a high income nation, that tends to move and change quickly in certain aspects of our life. So you have other societies who actually change very slowly, where you can go back to a community after 20 years and it seems very similar. The concern is when change happens very quickly, that can be scary for individuals and it can cause controversy. There are three causes for social change. The first one is technology. So this is where material things tend to change faster than cultural ideas. So examples that you see here are the mapping of DNA. There is a controversy about the fact that now humans and scientists have been able to unlock the secrets of DNA. There's now the opportunity and the possibility to be able to go intervene in a fetus and change their DNA to decide if they're going to be male or female, how intelligent they might be. And so this is a profound change in our technology. And the idea of whether we should do that or not is lagging behind because these cultural belief systems tend to sometimes lag behind technology, which tends to move very quickly. Another cause for social change is the changes in pattern of populations. In the United States, we were historically a very young or youth-oriented society, but now as people are getting older and are living longer, we are seeing what's called the aging of the US society. And this has caused a change and consequences for people. As our elderly parents or elderly family members can live longer lives, who takes care of them? Who will volunteer to do this? And if they are being taken care of in a nursing home, who will incur those costs? And so this is having a tremendous impact on our society. The last one is the environment. Human demands on the environment and overpopulation have increased the exposure to natural disasters for human beings. So, as we experience extremes in weather, humans are going to be impacted, and that is going to cause a change. So, an example was when Hurricane Katrina hit Louisiana, or Hurricane Sandy hit New Jersey. That caused a tremendous impact on humans, on the fact that some people had to leave their homes to, run away from the very violent storm. And so, there's going to be more and more exposure to this. So then this brings us to collective behavior. This is where a group of people come together out of their own free will and they want to talk about an issue that is bothering them. Collective action is where they actually decide, okay, we need to do something about this. And they do this based on something that they are passionate about. So social movements then are purposeful, goal-oriented work that people do. They organize to bring either awareness about a situation or awareness about a solution that they may have because they are being affected by something that is happening in their life. There's 5 types of social movements. Revolutionary is one of them. And this type of social movement seeks to have radical change in all of society. And I have included here an example that's called the Venus Project. It was a group of individuals in Florida that wanted to actually do away with all monetary exchanges, where they wanted to create an environment where it was all very communal, and they were using high-tech metals, high-tech technology. And so this type of project basically wanted to do a extreme change, and they were starting with this group. Reformative then seeks to have only a little bit of change in all of society. Here I've included the anti-nuclear movement, which seeks to eliminate the use of nuclear energy for housing, for energizing our homes and our technology. They're also seeking the less use of nuclear energy for weapons. The next one is called redemptive, where it seeks to have very radical change, but only in a few individuals. Here I've included the example of Alcoholics Anonymous, where they're trying to help individuals to deal with the issue of addiction by helping them have a radical change inside. Alternative then seeks to have only a little bit of change in only a few people. I've included here transcendental meditation, and this type of movement is the least threatening to the status quo. This group basically, or this type of social movement, is about only for a small group of people. It doesn't want to impact the rest of society. If it happens, then that's great, but usually this is where it's about focusing in on just a small piece of society. The most threatening for the status quo is the revolutionary one. Finally, last one is called resistance. This one seeks to prevent or undo changes in the social structure. An example that I have here is the Ku Klux Klan, which is a group that strives to maybe go back to the time where there were more racial divisions in our society. They want to undo some of those changes. And so we come to the reasons why social movements occur. And there are certain theories. This first theory basically says that in order to have a successful movement, you first need to have money, you need to have people who care about the issue, and you need to have a plan of how to get from A to B to C. So this one basically says that you need to have resources. The next one doesn't have to have this. Framing theory basically says you don't necessarily need to have wealth. You just need to have people who are very passionate about something, an issue or a social problem, and people identify so strongly with it that they decide out of their own sense of obligation to actually stand up. An example here is the Black Lives Matter movement, where it was a spontaneous movement, where it wasn't necessarily individuals who were having a plan to go from A to B to C. It was just very spontaneous. The last one is called New Social Movements Theory. This one basically says that because we are now very technology oriented, we have technological advances. Now social movements can be worldwide, and they can then impact the world in very positive ways. And some of these changes have a lot to do with quality of life issues. So I have here an example of the Save the Bees movement and the environmental movement. Because we have now devices that are so advanced, we can actually influence people worldwide. And we will end the semester with these last two slides where we talk about modernization. Modernization is this time and period that we're living right now. It's modern life. And modernization, the belief of modernization is the belief that countries that are low income will eventually become like all high income nations as they continue to develop and become more technologically advanced. They will become more and more modern and become like the high income nations. However, there is a caution that there is a delicate line when core nations or high income nations like ourselves, we bring the assumed benefits of modernization. We may believe that traditional ways of living life is not as good as our way of living life. And we, high income nations, especially the United States, we have a pro capitalist bias where we believe in profit being an important goal. And that may not be the goal for other traditional cultures. And so we end the semester with talking about how modern life has helped us to have standards of living that are better. We are living longer because technology has developed where we now have immunities. We have injections for the flu. We are living very comfortable lives. We have air conditioning and heating. However, it's important to understand that although we are living very well in some respects, in other respects, people are actually very stressed. They have time constraints where they don't have time to relax. And there are hundreds of studies that show that even though we may be living more comfortably, it doesn't necessarily mean that we are happier.